Welcome to the Immigrantinlaw channel. If you are a doctor, nurse, paramedic, dentist, or other medical professional, this video can be a starting point on your path to citizenship in one of the European Union countries. Today we'll look at which EU countries are open to medical workers, where your education and experience will be in demand, and what it gives in terms of citizenship, without the fluff, just real mechanisms. Medical professions in Europe have traditionally been considered a priority. And this is not just a formality, it is an official need at the EU level. Almost all EU countries face a shortage of doctors, nurses, as well as auxiliary personnel, paramedics, laboratory technicians, physiotherapists. The shortage was particularly acute after the COVID-19 pandemic, when healthcare systems came under enormous pressure. Many specialists burned out, some retired, and the flow of new personnel from within the EU does not make up for the shortage. As a result, demand for health workers is consistently high from Germany and France to Slovenia and Croatia. For a health worker, having EU citizenship opens up completely different prospects. This is not just a change of country. It's a transition into a zone where your profession receives real recognition, fair compensation, and growth opportunities. So with a European passport, you gain the right to work in any EU country without visas, permits, quotas, or lengthy bureaucracy. Have access to all forms of medical practice, public service, private clinics, research institutes, pharmaceutical companies. Can participate in continuing medical education programs and European grants without additional approvals. May open your own private practice without restrictions, unlike foreign specialists who require separate authorization. Your children are automatically included in the European education and healthcare systems, from kindergarten to university, including insurance coverage. And most importantly, you secure long-term stability, pension, social benefits, legal protection, and the ability to move freely and grow professionally. Let's consider specific areas where medicine is the key to obtaining a residence permit and in the long-term citizenship. Germany is one of the leaders in the recruitment of foreign doctors. There is a long-standing government strategy to attract doctors and medical personnel from outside the European Union. The reason for this is the chronic shortage of staff, especially in geriatrics, therapy, psychiatry, and elderly care. If you are considering Germany as a country for professional realization, it is important to understand how the process works. First, proof of a diploma is mandatory. Germany does not automatically recognize foreign medical education. Qualifications are verified separately in each federal state. This means that the procedure and requirements may differ in Bavaria, Berlin, or Saxony. If your education is recognized as equivalent to a German degree, you receive an approbation official permit to practice medicine. This authorizes you to work without restrictions. At this stage, you can apply for an EU blue card, a residence permit for highly qualified professionals with an income above a certain threshold. Doctors, as a rule, overcome this threshold without any problems. After 5 years of continuous residence with a blue card or other type of residence permit, you can apply for permanent residence, and after another year for German citizenship. In some cases, after 6 years, if there are integration successes, language skills, participation in society. The path is different for nurses. Germany has simplified the scheme. It is enough to pass the German minimum of B1 level, pass accreditation through the clinic, and you can get a work visa. Often, the clinic itself helps with the paperwork and relocation, but it is important to understand. Here, we are talking about labor migration. This is a path through work, permanent residence, integration. For those who are ready to move, learn the language, go through the bureaucracy, this is a real option. But if your goal is EU citizenship without moving, without long years of waiting and integration, there are other mechanisms. For example, repatriation by origin, where medical education is an advantage, but not a prerequisite. This is what we will talk about next. Slovenia is not the largest country in the EU, but if you already have Slovenian citizenship by descent, this can be a great starting point for a medical career in the EU. The country itself has a steady demand for general practitioners, as well as specialists in geriatrics, surgery, and anesthesiology. Salaries here are lower than in Germany or the Netherlands, but the level of medicine is decent, especially in university clinics and private centers. However, the main advantage is not working in Slovenia itself, but the status of an EU citizen, which gives you access to the entire European medical space. With this status, you can get a job as a doctor in any EU country without visas, quotas, and permits. Confirm your diploma as an EU citizen, which removes much of the bureaucracy. Participate in European internships, grants, and exchange programs on general grounds. Freely change your country of residence and place of work without losing your rights and status. If you are just considering citizenship and you have Slovenian roots in your family, you can do so through the repatriation procedure, which is regulated by the Citizenship of the Republic of Slovenia Act, Article 12. This is a simplified process, no residency requirement, no exams, and no renunciation of current citizenship. For medical professionals, this way is particularly advantageous. You get EU citizenship immediately, you do not have to move to Slovenia, but you get full access to all the possibilities of the EU healthcare system. Most directly, Slovenia is a legal base from which you can build your career in Germany, Austria, Belgium, the Netherlands, or Scandinavia. If you are not ready to move blindly but want to prepare in advance a legal entry into the European system, this is one of the most rational ways. If you already have Romanian citizenship, it is not just a formality, but a real tool to enter the EU medical market. With a Romanian passport, you become an EU citizen, which means that you have the right to live and work in any country of the Union, without visas, permits, and quotas. Working in Romania itself is not suitable for everyone. Despite the constant shortage of medical personnel, salaries here are among the lowest in the EU and the workload is high. Therefore, many Romanian doctors leave for Western Europe for years, and the same is done by those who received a passport by origin. With Romanian citizenship, you have access to Germany, with high demand for doctors and attractive conditions; France, especially in rural areas where the state is interested in hiring doctors; Austria, Netherlands, Belgium, countries where you can find a job without restrictions with an EU passport. Your advantages as a doctor with EU citizenship: confirmation of diploma is faster and easier than for foreigners. No need to apply for visas and work permits. You are considered as a domestic candidate with equal rights to employment. You can freely move and work in different countries without losing your legal status. That is why most doctors with Romanian passport build their career outside Romania, in countries with a more stable healthcare system and decent pay. For a medical professional, it is not just citizenship. It is an admission to full freedom of movement, choice, and professional development throughout the European Union. France is one of the largest EU countries with a developed healthcare system, but even here there is a shortage of medical personnel, especially in rural areas and small towns. The state actively attracts doctors and nurses from abroad, but the procedure requires time and effort. To work as a doctor in France, it is necessary to undergo the PRA procedure. This is the official recognition of a foreign diploma. Each case is considered individually, and the process can take from several months to several years, depending on the country of origin of the diploma and the specialty. For professionals educated outside the EU, there is a special program, PAE, Procedure d'Autorisation d'Exercice. This is a multi-stage procedure, from submitting a dossier and passing the commission to a temporary permit and supervised internship. It is not suitable for everyone and requires high motivation. Another important point is the knowledge of French. It is necessary to confirm the level of at least B2 or C1 depending on the profession. Without the language, it will not be possible not only to work, but also to start the procedure of recognition of qualification at all. As for citizenship, there is a traditional way through naturalization, at least 5 years of legal residence, stable income, knowledge of the French language, successful integration, participation in society, understanding of the values of the Republic, passing the integration test, interview in the prefecture, confirmation of motivation. This path is quite workable, especially if you are already employed in the French healthcare system, but it takes time, adaptation, and effort. It is not a simplified scheme, and even less so citizenship by descent. If you are looking for a quick and direct route to an EU passport, especially without a residency obligation, France is probably not the right place for you. But for those who are already planning a move and career in France, this scenario remains open. Poland is one of the few EU members that purposefully simplifies access to the labor market for doctors and medical personnel from CIS countries, including Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus. The main goal is to quickly close the shortage of specialists, especially in small towns and in the east of the country. One of the key advantages is the possibility to start working as a doctor without full nostrification of a diploma. Poland has introduced a mechanism of temporary authorization to practice medicine. It can be obtained after submitting an application to the Ministry of Health and signing a contract with a particular medical institution. The algorithm is as follows. You submit your diploma, translation, and basic documents. The clinic or hospital confirms their interest in you as a specialist. You receive a temporary right to work as a doctor for up to 5 years. At the same time, you can learn the language and prepare for full nostrification if you plan to stay for a long time. This allows you to move relatively quickly and start working, especially if you have a popular specialty: therapy, anesthesiology, pediatrics, psychiatry, geriatrics. However, in terms of citizenship, Poland offers a classic model: the path through residence. First, you get a temporary residence permit, then a permanent one, and only after 5 years with a residence card, there is a right to apply for citizenship. This way is realistic, but it requires time, residence in the country, integration, knowledge of Polish language, and passing exams. Therefore, if your goal is to obtain an EU passport as quickly as possible and enter the European labor market as a citizen rather than a temporary worker, Poland is not the shortest route. On the other hand, for those who are ready for relocation and a gradual process, it is a stable and quite transparent option. To summarize, today there are two fundamentally different paths to European Union citizenship for doctors and healthcare workers. Through labor migration, this is a classic scheme. First, you confirm your diploma, pass language exams, undergo the procedure of recognition of qualifications. You obtain a residence permit in the country where you found a job. After several years of residence, you get a permanent residence permit or EU residence card. And only then, after 5-10 years, you have the right to apply for citizenship by naturalization. The path is quite workable, especially if you are ready to move, learn the language, and gradually integrate. But it requires time, resources, and adaptation to new living conditions through descent, repatriation. If you can confirm that your ancestors were citizens of one of the EU countries, for example, Slovenia, Romania, Bulgaria, you have the right to apply for citizenship by roots. In this case, the procedure is radically simplified. You get an EU passport directly, without prior residence permit and without living in the country. You do not need to undergo naturalization, language exams, or interviews. The procedure can take from 6 months to 2 years, depending on the country and the quality of the dossier. And most importantly, you become a citizen of the European Union with full right to live and work in any EU country, simply by confirming medical qualifications as an EU citizen, not as a foreign specialist. For medical professionals, this means the opportunity to choose where to work, in what conditions, with what prospects, without visas, quotas, and complicated legalization procedures. This second way, through origin, remains today the fastest, safest, and legally stable way to obtain EU citizenship, especially for professionals who want to maintain flexibility. Work in Germany, live in Austria, study in the Netherlands, all without restrictions. If you are not sure whether your family had citizens of Slovenia, Romania, or other EU countries, this can and should be checked. The grounds are often hidden in family archives, old metrics, birth and marriage certificates, pre-revolutionary passports, records from civil registries and church books. Sometimes a single document is enough to start the process. Immigrant-in-law specialists can check everything for you. We will conduct a professional archive search, assess the prospects, advise you what citizenship is realistic to apply for in your case, and what you need to submit. You don't need to understand the law or search for evidence yourself. We do it every day. Just sign up for a free consultation at the link in the video description and you will get a concrete answer, whether there is a chance of EU citizenship through descent, what the procedure is, and how to go through it with the least amount of time and resources. Despite all the advantages of your profession, it is important to understand the real mechanisms of obtaining EU citizenship. Yes, your profession is prestigious and in high demand in the EU. Doctors, nurses, paramedics, and other medical personnel are in short supply in almost all EU countries. This gives you a competitive advantage in the labor market and facilitates labor migration. However, the profession itself does not automatically entitle you to citizenship. Having a medical diploma and work experience is an advantage, but not a legal basis for obtaining an EU passport. Without residency status, residency and time limits, citizenship is not granted. If you have European roots, this opens up a completely different scenario, straightforward, fast, and without the obligation to relocate. Repatriation by descent is a legal, reliable path that tens of thousands of people, including doctors, have already taken advantage of. Even if there are no roots, the possibility of citizenship remains. In some countries, and for example Germany, Poland, France, you can move along the line of labor migration through recognition of a diploma, registration of residence permit, residence and naturalization. But this is a longer, more costly and limited way, especially if you want to maintain freedom of movement and not be tied to one country. In any case, choosing the right strategy is the key to avoid wasting years and resources. As you can see, EU citizenship for a doctor or medical specialist is not just a formality, but a tool that defines your career horizons. If you already have a passport of one of the EU countries, you get access to the entire EU labor market, without visas, without quotas, with simplified recognition of qualifications, and with freedom to choose where and how to build your career. If you don't have a passport yet, don't miss the opportunity to apply for EU citizenship. This is a real chance to enter Europe legally without years of waiting, exams, and moving blindly. The main thing is to choose the right strategy. That's exactly what we can help you with. Immigrant-in-Law team. Leave a request for a free consultation with Immigrant-in-Law lawyers. We will choose the best relocation strategy for you, prepare all the necessary documents, explain in detail the nuances of the law, and answer all your questions. We will analyze your case, your goals, your situation without templates. Want to learn more or start the process today? Contact us. All contacts are listed in the description below this video. We're here to help you take a confident step toward a new life. Give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and ask your questions in the comments. I will be happy to answer them. Discover the world of opportunities with Immigrant-in-Law.